When you're drilling out here, that water's going to move your platform or ship around a little. Even with the best station keeping or mooring systems available, your rig is subject to pitch, roll, and heave, as well as some lateral movement off the hull. Down, ready?
There are special joints in your marine riser system to allow some movement of your rig on the ocean surface without bending or breaking the riser. One such piece of equipment is the ball joint. It allows the riser to pivot from side to side with any lateral motion of the rig, often called vessel offset. This is a Regan CR1 ball joint. It consists of a two-piece housing with a connection flange or hub on the bottom, and a ball that swivels inside the housing. The ball has a hub on top for connection to the riser adapter. The ball joint usually sits between the riser adapter and the riser connector. The joint is under a lot of pressure from the mud column and riser tension and from the sea pressure. Left unchecked, these pressures would create excessive friction between the ball and housing, preventing free movement of the joint. To neutralize the pressure and resulting friction, we pressurize the joint hydraulically. The pressure fed into this fitting surrounds the ball and keeps it from binding against the housing. About once a year, sometimes more often, you need to replace the seals that hold the pressure in the joint. Disassemble the joint. Clean and inspect each part. Grease and install new seals. And grease and reassemble the parts of the joint. Here's how it's done. Remove the nuts from the studs, holding the housing together. Install a couple of eye bolts and lift the upper housing. Our ball stuck to the upper housing, so we shot a little air into the hydraulic fitting to pop the ball loose. Now the ball will lift out of the lower housing. Be careful not to gouge or dent the surface of the ball. Now, take out the pipe plugs at the bottom and back out the set screws. With the set screws backed out, the wear sleeve is free to be pulled. Remove all the O-rings, but note the sizes and where they fit. There are 2 O-rings in the upper housing, and each has its own backup ring. Cut the rings when you remove them, so you won't accidentally reuse them. Remove the ring from the lower housing and cut it too. Now, clean the interior of the upper housing and the lower housing, the ball, and the wear sleeve. Remove dirt, foreign material, and the old grease. Inspect the parts for any serious gouges that could affect the joint's ability to hold pressure. Apply waterproof grease to all mating surfaces, on the ball, in the lower housing, the upper housing, and the outside of the wear sleeve. Grease and install a new O-ring in the top of the lower housing. Lower the wear sleeve into place. You'll probably need to tap it to get it aligned. Retighten the set screws. Install the pipe plugs over the screws. This slot in the ball has to line up with this key in the lower housing when you set the ball in place. Now grease and install 2 O-rings and backup rings in their grooves in the upper housing. This area between the 2 rings is the pressurized part of the joint. The backup rings go next to the O-rings on the side away from the pressure. On top here, and on bottom here. You'll have to cut the backup rings to fit, but be sure to use the short piece with the smaller diameter O-ring, or you won't have enough material for the large diameter ring. Okay, lower the upper housing into place. Put some anti-seize compound on the studs before you replace the nuts. Tighten one side, then the opposite, so you'll draw the housing together evenly. Check the gap. It needs to be good and tight.
We're going to take it down.
All right.
If you have access to a torque wrench, use it.
You torque on each one of these nuts?
Torque each nut to 3,200 foot-pounds. That's it. Pressure test the joint to 2,000 psi, then it's ready to use. If the joint is a backup unit, or if it won't be used for a while, keep the protective rubber boot over it to protect it from corrosion. It's simple. There are 4 basic parts: upper housing, lower housing, ball, and wear sleeve. Every 6 months to a year, depending on your instructions and operating conditions, disassemble the ball joint. Clean and inspect the parts. Replace the seals, grease, and reassemble. This joint is one of the easiest to maintain. Take care of it, and it'll last a long time.